It's time once again for Political Empire. This is Jeff Horseman for the Press Enterprise MP.com. Today's show, we're going to tell you about a new job for Mary Bono Mack, and then we're going to check on a number of bills in Sacramento that are being sponsored by inland lawmakers. So first, former inland Congresswoman Mary Bono Mack has a new job, like I said. The Palm Springs Republican, who served in the House for 14 years before losing to Democrat Raul Ruiz last November, was recently named Senior Vice President in the Washington office of, I believe it's Fair BD Consulting, which is a lobbying firm. I'm sorry if I butchered that pronunciation. Bono Mack will consult on technology, internet piracy, intellectual property rights, and other issues. Now, federal rules prohibit her from lobbying for 1 year. Moving on to Sacramento, where lawmakers are returning from their Easter recess April 1st, and they'll have a busy month of hearings on legislation introduced earlier this year. Measures in the mix include hundreds by lawmakers representing inland Southern California. And here to talk about what's in store is our Sacramento reporter, Jim Miller. So, Jim, how much legislation has the inland delegation introduced, and what are some of the main subjects?
Yeah. Hi there. The lawmakers presenting the bulk of Riverside and San Bernardino counties have introduced more than 230 pieces of legislation. The introduction deadline was in February, but because of the way various rules on bills having to be in print before they can be heard, rules that sometimes don't get followed, but in this case, many of the bills just now are starting to be heard, and lawmakers who are back in the Capitol will be hearing a lot of these bills throughout the month of April. In the case of legislation from inland lawmakers, it's the traditionally kind of popular topics. Public safety is always a big one, and there are a few dozen bills that fall into that category. Businesses, various workplace rules seem to be another popular topic for some of the legislation. And then some of the others dealing with environmental considerations, water and land use.
All right, well, that's a lot of bills, and I don't think we're going to have you go through every single one of those, but could you talk about some of the more interesting proposals?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot out there, and I would direct people to the politics blog, where we do have a searchable list of legislation by lawmaker, and I think maybe we're also have a chart there that shows the number of pieces of legislation that members of our delegation have introduced. But I'll just run through a couple real quick here. There's a bill by Assemblyman Eric Linder, a Corona Republican, that would deal with the state's confidential address program. The issue is that when people run through highway toll facilities and don't stop or don't have the transponder, it's been difficult in the past to track those people down if they were in the confidential address program, which is usually reserved for public safety personnel. Democrat Cheryl Brown, a Assemblywoman from Rialto, has an interesting bill dealing with college athletics and requiring schools that make a lot of media revenue from sports to pay guaranteed scholarships. Bill Emerson, state senator from Redlands, has a bill dealing with fee arrangements or vendor fees at the state's 21 regional centers. Those serve people with developmental disabilities, and the issue of vendor fees that they pay to vendors who serve the centers has been one that's been a source of controversy past few years. But so, yeah, there'll be lots of developments over the coming months. Probably some new bills will emerge, and so try to follow along.
All right. Now, how likely are some of these bills to advance, and what's the process now?
Yeah, like I was saying, a lot of these are having just their their initial committee hearing this month, early part of May. They need to pass their, or they need to be referred to the floor by late May, early June. I believe the uh, the policy committee deadline is in early May, and then the floor deadline for the House of Origin is several weeks after that. And then, just I would expect, as I think most people would, that bills with a Democratic author would have a better shot because of who controls the legislature than bills with a Republican author. So I think in the coming weeks here, a lot of the bills authored by Republicans from the region will, may not advance very far.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate the update, and thank you for watching Political Empire. We'll see you next time.